First off, how did you get involved with the film?
Yeah, it's not a super thrilling story, but I just auditioned for it. I live in Austin, Texas, and Aaron had an audition slot open, and I went in with a group of people. That the core cast of Horror Hypothesis has one jock and one final girl, and so he had one of each of those categories in the room at a time, and the way that he was working with that group of actors really convinced me that he would be a great director to work with.
So you had auditioned solely just for that short and none of the other shorts?
Yeah. I actually didn't know what any of the other shorts were about until the premiere of it. Oh. Well, I knew what one of them was about because I'm friends with Emily Higgins, who directed the first segment called Open.
Oh, okay. So you didn't really get to interact with any of the other people, just on what you did?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this movie covers a lot of horror tropes. So are you a real big horror fan, or is horror new to you?
I wish I could say yes, but I'm a big time scaredy cat. Every time I watch a scary movie, I get terrified. I'm a jumpy person in general, so I can't take too much horror. But when something is like big enough to where all my friends are talking about it and they want to talk to me about it as well, then I'll see a horror movie.
So what kind of experience was this overall then? Because it must have been crazy, since it covers your specific movie covers a lot of different elements of horror.
Yeah, well, I was familiar with a lot of horror tropes because I've done some film study related stuff. So I've read papers about it, and I was interested in the whole concept that Aaron was subverting with the whole final girl virgin versus slut concept that he's exploring in this movie. I was like very into that conversation. And so it was interesting. It definitely felt like I was dipping my toe into a community that, it was like I got to be a tourist in a really cool community. But most of it were tropes that I was familiar with.
So I guess jumping into that, you're a final girl now. So that is probably something you never thought you would do.
Absolutely, I was thrilled to get cast as a final girl. I knew how much of a big deal that was, and was honored.
Yes, especially nowadays, there's just so much of a focus on that, and I guess people are going back to that and the emphasis and trying to change that dynamic in different ways. So it's this movie as well. You get a little down and dirty here. You get your leg cut and you get some blood on you. What was that like? Did you like getting the blood on you and going through the special makeup effects there and so forth?
Yeah, a big reason that I was excited to work in horror was all of the special effects. And when Aaron told me in the audition that they were doing all practical effects, I was completely sold. I was so excited. So getting to work with people who, are essentially like fine crafts people who just make wounds for a living, it was awesome. And very interesting to see people work on something that was so specific to their profession. It's really cool.
And not only did you get it on you, but you also had some of the interesting effects for the people around you, Chase and Dustin. Was that also cool to be around?
It was awesome, yeah. They brought in a team of people, I believe from Oklahoma, and I believe led by Tate Steinsack, but, check me on that spelling. And he brought they would come in with all these tables and set them out, around where we were working, turn on strong heavy metal, and then pull out corpses from their cars that they had been working on to like prep for the shoot. And they were the coolest guys. They were like so nice, so chill, and let me kind of like hang around and watch them work on these corpses. It was awesome.
No, that definitely sounds like an awesome experience. I wish I could do something like that.
Totally, it was a gift.
Kind of speaking about behind the scenes and so forth, you got to work with a very good cast of characters there. You had Chase and Jeremy and Dustin, and even Joe Bob makes an appearance there. What was it like working with them both on and off set?
Yeah, well, I got to do something that I was really excited to, was to work with Christy McAdam, who plays the other girl in our segment, and she is somebody who, you know, I grew up sort of, we'd see each other at auditions, and getting to work with someone who, you know, we were often vying for similar parts. It's so awesome to actually get to be on set with that person. But getting to be sort of the straight man surrounded by people who are like very talented improv comedians, that was awesome as well. It was at first perhaps a little bit intimidating, because I think I thought, like, well, I'm not being like them, like, just should I be like them? But then I pieced together that Aaron, the director, you know, he chose everyone to bring what they, you know, like what they naturally did well. And so then it sort of turned into like, well, Jesse's going to be the straight man, and Chase and Jeremy's characters are going to be, you know, extremely fast and coming in with lines that, you know, there are obviously aren't on the page, but also are just entirely unexpected and hilarious. And once we all kind of fell into those roles, it was really fun.
Is it hard to kind of respond to them if they kind of ad-lib and you're kind of expecting, you know, I'm going to say this and that, and they kind of throw in something, and especially something funny, and then does that throw you off, or you just kind of go with it?
I'm a little ashamed to say that it totally did at that time throw me off, just because it would be so funny. It was so hard to play this like very serious. I mean, it's almost like they come from different worlds. Like Jesse and Chase's character, they hardly exist on the same plane of reality. So then just trying to react as this like very serious, very responsible character when Chase is delivering this like extremely goofy, like very stylized character. It was hard sometimes, but it was worth it because he's so funny in it.
Yeah, your character. You know, to do the interview, I watched your part over specifically, and your character's very serious, and you just have all this craziness going around, and you have surrounded by funny people and just crazy moments. It must have been just a wild adventure there.
It was great.
I'm kind of curious, you know, when I watched it again, you have the scene where you get out of the car at the end and you run, and it's, you know, a reenactment of all those action scenes where it kind of blows up there. Did you really get to do that,
yeah.
or was that all fake, or?
We really got to do that. Can you believe that? Like, I am just as excited as you about that. That wasn't in the original script, and that the car that they blew up was one that I think they had rented it, you know, from somebody, but then, you know, it was one of those things that was like, well, if you mess it up, then you'll just buy it. It was a really old car, and we completely destroyed it with fake blood and everything like that. So they had to already buy it, and I got a call from Aaron that was like, well, we might as well just blow it up. And I was so excited. But, you know, doing that thing where you run away from the explosion was terrifying, because we had all these safety meetings right beforehand, and they were really being extremely cautious and professional about how they were going to do this explosion. But I had to run away from it and not look at it. You know, so no matter what's happening, if something goes wrong, I'm not going to know. Like, I'm just running away. Obviously, they did it very safe. It was very far away. It was entirely professional. But it was my first experience with, you know, live explosives on the set or blowing up a car. So that was a very exciting day of shooting.
To follow up on that one, did you do that in one take, or one take and that was it?
We had one take, yeah.
Okay. And I guess last question will be, was that the hardest scene you filmed, or what was the hardest scene for you filming?
Hardest scene. I don't think any of them were particularly taxing. There's at one point where at the end, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but where I'm sort of repeat dying, sitting in the car and just getting sort of recovered in blood was hard, because it was kind of hot. We were shooting in Texas, and the fake blood does kind of like stick to your skin, and then you kind of feel it getting all like hot. And so that was like, you know, a bodily sensation I hadn't felt before. But that was what I signed up for. You know, like I was so excited to be part of all those practical effects that when that was happening, it wasn't like, me getting all complainy and grumbly. It was like, this is a real deal. This is what it's like being covered in fake blood, and it's cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I welcome you to horror, and hopefully you'll do more horror movies and get covered in blood and have fun with it.
Thank you so much. I'd love to do that.
Thank you, and thank you for your time. Let's jump into the movie. How did you land the role as Chad?
You know, I keep asking myself that question every time the director, Aaron, hires me for another project. I don't know what he's thinking. But I've actually worked with Aaron and Cameron from Paper Street Pictures on a few projects, and we kind of go all the way back to our early days in Orlando, Florida. We were doing one of the first short films I ever did. I think Aaron was a producer on. This is back in like 2003. And I played a bicycle cop, and it was sort of a comedy. And they called me about 8 years later to do a short film called The El Chupacabra, which was like this ridiculous short film about a pug that turns into a chupacabra if he eats marshmallow, which my character unfortunately feeds him. But so they brought me out to Austin for that. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and we've kind of just kept in touch ever since then. And you know, I'll jump in on his project when he wants to kill me.
So this was this probably the biggest project you'd worked with him so far, as when you did this one?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because later. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the cool thing was, originally they were trying to figure out a way. My character was actually supposed to be wrapped into all the different segments, but when they started looking at the production of it and how the scripting would have to go, they just realized that it would be nearly impossible. So it's been kind of cool to see how the project has come along in the last few years. It took about 2 years to film all the shorts, and then they wrote the wraparound and the final segment basically after that. So it's been an awesome process.
Wow, 2 years. That is a long time. So they basically did several of the shorts and then kind of did your part last?
Right. So they filmed all the other shorts, and then they basically created the wraparound to connect to all these different things. And then, of course, the final segment, they sort of wrote at the same time.
Okay, that's.
And then, believe it or not, the ending wasn't actually the original ending that they had written. I don't know who the brilliant mind was that came up with connecting Cold Open to the ending, but man, what a treat that was. I mean, that was a surprise to me too, so it was awesome.
Yeah, no, it worked out really, really well. Did you do anything specific to prepare for this role?
Just wearing my bolo tie around town, just trying to get into character. And I think I shaved to get my mustache like before I flew out there, and so that was interesting. I got a lot of stares from a lot of people, trying to protect their children from me. I look like a danger to society with my mustache rolling around town,
Are you a horror fan or not much?
I am a horror fan. It's funny because me and Aaron have talked about this a lot. I don't think I quite got as deep into it as he did growing up, but I'm definitely a fan of all the classics. I grew up with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Halloween. I don't know if it really counts as a horror, but my dad took me to see Aliens when it came out in theaters, which I probably was way too young for. I think I was in second grade. And I remember he even told me, he's like, I shouldn't take you to go see this. You're going to have nightmares, Paul. I'm like, Dad, I'll be fine. really want to go see it. And literally, like, I had nightmares for like 2 weeks after that aliens were dropping into like the gutters in front of our house and trying to run up and get me. It was great.
Yes, that was probably too early to be watching Alien.
It absolutely was, looking back on it now.
So since you were a horror fan, so you kind of appreciated at least some of the things that they were trying to, showing their love of horror, but also making fun of it.
100%. Yeah, I think Aaron went into this without really trying to make fun of horror. He's such a fan of horror and such a absolute knowledge base of all things horror. They didn't really want to make fun of it. They just wanted to sort of play with some of the tropes. And I think originally this was called Tropes, but they sort of wanted to sort of play with these different tropes that happen. Like you'll see in our final segment, it starts off seeming like the guys are sort of going to be the leaders, but it's the women in the segment that actually, tend to make the better decisions and are more grounded and doing the right things. So the whole thing was just trying to turn a lot of the things on their head, and it was such a joy to watch. I didn't have the full script for all the other shorts, so when they premiered it, it was such a joy to watch the amazing job that all the other directors did with the different shorts that they did.
Did you have a favorite short that you weren't in?
I liked all of them for different reasons, but I think the one that probably made me fall out of my chair laughing the most, I would have to say, is One Time in the Woods.
Okay.
Just because it was so absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that was mine as well. I'm a big fan of Chris's work. I've seen some of his other shorts.
Oh my gosh, man! Yeah, like I've gotten to know him a good amount, going to some of the film festivals and stuff, and I started watching his earlier short films, and they're all in that same vein of just ridiculous, absolutely crazy, and just so funny. But I think everybody did such a great job. Like Cold Open just really started the whole film on such a great path, on how they just spent time building up the comedy and the ridiculousness of what happened, and then the fact that they were able to tie all that in at the end. And then the night he came back again, part 4, absolutely kills me every time. I just love all the characters in that. I think Noah Segan did a great job with Mr. I think they did a wonderful job with Girls Night Out of Body. And that, some of them had a little bit different tone. They weren't quite, a straight comedy like some of these were, but I think it sort of evens out the tone of everything. I think it would have been a little too much if everything would have been exactly in the same vein.
Yeah, no, I think it was a really great mix altogether. I can see, from talking with you, you're pretty funny. So did you kind of improv some of your stuff there, or did you kind of stick to the script?
100%, yeah. So the great thing about Aaron is he always lets me play. And, we'll do a few takes that are pretty close to the script. And then if we have extra time, he'll just say, all right, guys, just, go at it. And he calls them Jeremy takes. So he'll let me do a few that are just sort of all over the place. And the great thing on this one, like working with Byron and Hawn in the video store scenes, those guys were killing me, man. Like for the first time in my life, I was the one that was having trouble keeping a straight face, just with some of the stuff that was thrown out. And even we're working with Joe Bob, which was a treat to begin with, but he would go off and talk to Aaron about stuff that he wanted to do, and then he'd be throwing stuff at me in the middle of the scene that I had no idea. So, it was the same thing of just everybody really brought their A game, and it was just such a blast.
Speaking of Joe Bob, when did you know that you were going to work with him? Did you know early on, or is that kind of a last minute thing, or?
I'm trying to think of how it all went down. I mean, the interesting thing was this was sort of before his resurgence. And Aaron had been like a real fan of his growing up with Monster Vision and the different shows he had. So I think I probably was told about Joe Bob, I want to say like a month before production. And I had remembered watching his shows when I was younger, but I sort of went back and, started doing my research and joined. There's a Mutant Fam group on Facebook that I joined, and that group has been absolutely amazing. There's so many like true horror fans in that just enjoy even they can even point out the good and the things like that in some of the films that you wouldn't think are that great. So it's actually really helped my love of horror, being a part of those groups and working with Aaron on projects like this too.
Yeah, he definitely has a strong following. I'm not familiar with the one on Facebook, but I know that there's some on Twitter. Oh
yeah, Twitter's huge. The groups on Twitter have been so great, so supportive of Scare Package and like the Joe Bob fanzine. I've been in contact with them a lot. There's a girl that does these quilted dolls called Tales from the Stitch, and she actually made a Rad Chad doll that she sent me, which was super awesome. So it's just been it's been such a cool experience throughout this whole thing.
That is awesome. Kind of playing along the lines of Joe Bob there, that kind of is around the time that you have a big death scene. So I was kind of curious, what was it like filming that scene and basically all the craziness that went on to your character?
It was a lot of fun. So the Devil's Lake Taylor was played by Dustin Rhodes, who's Gold Dust, the wrestler Gold Dust. And he was just such a nice guy. But that scene kind of made me sad. I think I was trying to get him to change it up to the last day when we finally had to film it. I'm like, Aaron, why do you hate me? Why do you always have to kill me in everything you do, man? Why can't I be the hero for once? I was kind of sad about that. But I know every time he calls me, he's like, that's my first question now to him is, how do I die? I think deep down inside, Aaron just doesn't like me, and he likes to see me suffer.
How was going through the special effects and all the makeup and that kind of thing, filming that scene?
It was fun. I'm trying to remember. I think I had to have so when I got my arm ripped off,
mm-hmm.
I think they had to like strap my arm basically behind my back. And I think after a while, like my arm started cramping up. Like they had to release the strap like in between takes because it was like so tight. And it was at such an awkward angle. But the special effects crew on this one was just fantastic. I mean, they did such a good job with all the death scenes and all the ridiculousness that went on. There was a lot of blood, so I remember being pretty cold, and I was covered in a lot of blood for most of it. And in between takes, they would basically, pour more blood on me to get the right effect. But it was a good time.
Was that the hardest scene? Or?
When they punched through my head, that wasn't actually a special effect. They made me actually do that one, which was very painful. That's just for you to know, for behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Was that to me, it looks like that might have been one of the hardest scenes to film. But what from your standpoint, what was the hardest scene that you filmed? I don't think there was anything that was like super hard to film. I think the hardest time I had on this was just keeping a straight face, especially with the death scene with Joe Bob. There's a scene where Zoe Graham like comes up and grabs my shoulder, and I kind of give her this look like I know what I need to go do, and I think that took probably 6 or 8 takes. Like, we could not keep a straight face when I would look up at her because it was just like one of those ridiculous moments.
and then like watching the other guys behind the scenes, trying not to laugh too hard to where you ruin their take was probably the hardest part. So I don't think anything in this film is hard. Everything on this film was basically just, I mean, a good time. You know, it's something that I would probably do every day if I could.
Yeah, no, it is a very terrific movie, and I loved every second of it. I was laughing, and I thought you definitely covered all the horror tropes very well. And it's good to hear from you and see that you also had a lot of fun on it as well.
Oh, yeah, and the feedback, and thank you so much, by the way. Like, the feedback that we've gotten on this it's one of those things that you always want to be part of a project where somebody just says, man, that just made my day. You know, it made me laugh. It took me out of a bad day. It brightened my day. I like to share with the friends. Like, it's so cool hearing that from a project you work on. You know, that's really special.
Absolutely, and I'll just throw it in there also. I enjoyed. I know you were in the Pale Door. I guess Aaron dragged you into that one, and that was also another excellent movie.
Oh yeah. He did a great job on the Pale Door. My time there was brief, and I died again. I'm not very happy about, but you know, maybe we should start some sort of hashtag on Twitter to tell Aaron to stop killing me. I don't know.
But yeah,
what a great crew you put together. You know, great actors you put together for Pale Door and like Scare Package. I mean, if you look through the actors that were involved in this, it was just absolutely awesome.
Yes, no, he did an excellent job with both films, and I'm definitely excited to see what he has coming up next.
Me too. I can't wait till he calls me and tells me how I die again.
And then we'll see you dying.
If there is another Aaron Kuntz movie, you will probably see me, and I will probably die.
Random guy dies in the background. That's you.
Yes, yeah. He'll just lessen my roles every single movie to where like I'm just like I'll be like a random zombie in a group of like 40 zombies that gets mowed down or something.
All right, Jeremy, I thank you for your time, and I think you've answered everything that I got. But again, wonderful job with the movie, and I'm very happy that you had a lot of fun with it and all the success it's gotten.
Thank you so much, man. That really means a lot. Like, you have no idea how happy that makes me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
How did you land your role in this part in this movie?
In fact, I actually worked with Aaron and Cameron like about a few years ago. They casted me in this movie called Camera Obscura, which was produced by Universal, and ever since then, we kept in contact, and then they called me up for this movie. They're like, hey, we got a perfect role for you. We would love for you to, be on this new film that we're about to do. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but the role Hawn was actually my first name also. But they pretty much asked me, hey, which you want your character to be named? And I was like, it doesn't matter. It's, just come with any name. And it's like, we just call the character Hawn. And that's how Hawn came to be.
Funny? Yeah, I didn't quite realize that at first, and then when I started looking you up to do the interview, then I kind of made the connection. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. But that's a true story. Yep, that's exactly how it happened.
That's cool. So they already had the role in mind, and
yes.
For you, and you didn't really have to do anything different.
Yes. So basically, they basically wrote me into the movie, and they were like, how do you feel about the character? I was like, I love it.
So when you were given the script, you were all cool with everything that was going on there?
Actually, I only got a chance to read the wraparound, which was my segment. And so everything was a total surprise for me until the premiere. So believe it or not, I didn't realize how major my role was until the premiere.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because your character's kind of a funny part because you're watching him and you're kind of like, what is his role here? He's kind of, just there, but then he does have a huge flip later on.
Yeah, it was a really nice twist.
So, are you a horror fan in general?
Yes, I'm actually a horror fan. In fact, I'm one of those people where, like, if I was to watch a horror movie, I have to watch it with someone else because I'm one of those people where whenever I watch a horror film, I close my eyes. At moment, yeah, because I'm like a chicken when it comes to like horror movies, but I love them though. Like I love to watch them, but at the same time, I do close my eyes a few times during a horror movie.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. So you were kind of familiar with some of the horror tropes that they were playing with, and especially in the video store there, they did a lot of that, kind of setting up some of the stories.
Yes, semi. In fact, I actually had to do my research for this film, to make sure I know my horror backgrounds and stuff. So yes, I actually had to do a little bit of research.
And no problem there. Sometimes you forget, and it's good to to see a movie like this because then you remember. Oh yeah, there are those kind of movies and those kind of moments and stuff like that. Earlier I talked with Jeremy and he said it was a lot of fun working with you. Do you have any fun stories there, maybe behind the scenes while you were in the middle of takes in the video store?
In fact, it's like Jeremy kept that character the whole time whenever we were shooting. But in fact, that was actually my first time working with Jeremy on his film. Jeremy was actually on camera at Obscura also, but like we didn't get a chance to work together in the same scene together. So this is the first time. But like the night before we shoot, we actually went out and had dinner before, and that's how we built chemistry for the two characters.
Oh, that's good. Did you get to? I think he kind of said that he got to do some improv stuff there. Did you kind of do that the same, or you kind of stuck to your script?
I'm more of a to the script kind of guy, but like when it comes to these movies, the directors are a lot more flexible. So yes, I would say like 80% is scripted and 20% is improv. And when I say improv, it's like action improv and also dialogue improv.
With like certain ways that you kind of responded to Jeremy, maybe not vocally, but maybe with the way you looked at him or reacted to what was going on.
Yes, that's definitely a lot of those are improv.
Okay. So later on, when your character does flip, did you know that? At what point did you know that was going to happen? Or you didn't?
Honestly, I read the segment before, but I didn't know that all the details into the action that happened. Like I didn't know I was, I'm supposed to hit him with like something on the back of his head. So that was actually a surprise until I got to set. And
then when you kind of get to that other scene, a different area, and you're basically in charge. Was that kind of weird, because you kind of have to change a little bit of how your character is played and be more assertive and...
Yes. In fact, going from playing innocent to playing kind of badass. So yes, it was actually really fun. Like playing a bad guy is actually really fun.
So you like the bad side better?
Honestly, as an actor, yes, I do enjoy it. In fact, this is maybe like only my third role that I play a bad guy. Yeah, because in Watchmen, I was also a bad guy.
Okay. So when you turn into the bad guy here, you have a good death scene, and I'm kind of curious what your thoughts were on the death scene and kind of how that set up and your experience with maybe some of the special effects that was going on there.
Okay, the death scene was purposely very well thought out. That was actually I think that was Cameron's and Aaron's idea for sure. yeah, they were like, yeah, we got this death scene that you're gonna love it. And then I was like, what? You're gonna kill me with this? The burner? I was like, all right, this is definitely something unique because I've never seen this done in a film. But yeah, it was really cool just seeing all the practical effects.
And was it easy to kind of incorporate the practical effects, or how did they put that together with you? And I'm assuming that you were a part of that all.
Actually, okay, here's the secret. I actually didn't have to lay down in any of that. That was actually like a dummy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the secret's out. Yeah, that wasn't on laying down there. Yeah, it was a dummy.
So you had a little fun, but not as much fun.
Yeah. Hey, I had fun watching it. I had fun watching the practical effects. Let's say that.
Yes. Well, I'm a big person when it comes to death scenes in any of the horror movies that I watch. So I enjoy them. I enjoyed yours as well.
Thanks. Actually, whenever I was watching this movie with my friend, we're like, all right, we're gonna drink to each kill. We got pretty buzzed at the end. Let's just say
yes, that. Especially in this one.
It's fun.
So I guess I'll wrap it up with just asking you. You said that you eventually saw the entire thing put together. So what was your overall thought with the entire movie put together, and maybe what was your favorite short that maybe you weren't involved with?
Oh my God! The first segment was probably one of my favorites. So basically, the only segment that I got to see during shoot was the video store segment. But at the premiere, like, everything just came together. That's what makes this anthology so special, because it brings, like, it has that wraparound, and the wraparound brings everything together. And I think that's why this anthology stands out. And, like, everything just goes perfectly well together. And, like, it's great to see that at the end, you know?
Awesome. Well, I thank you very much for your time. And
thank you.
It's a pleasure speaking with you, and I love the movie, and you did a very excellent job.
Thank you, and thank you for having me, Omar.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
Bye.